Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of U.S. Law Live, U.S. Law's official podcast. I'm Michael Judy with the Dysart Taylor firm in Kansas City, Missouri. And with me today, I have two of my wonderful co-hosts. I've got Pam Halford from the Carr Allison firm in Dothan, Alabama, and Nick Rauch from Larson King in Minnesota. Hello, Pam, and hello, Nick.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
How are you both?
I'm doing as well as a newly minted 40-year-old can be.
Well, happy birthday, Pam.
Happy birthday, Pam. That's what we should
Thank you.
start saying. Happy birthday.
You
Thank
know,
you.
life just starts at 40. I can tell you that from experience.
Somebody sent me an article this morning. I want to get to it so that I'm saying the right thing. Um, this was on the Today Show. According to scientists, your 40s are your most exhausting decade. So thank you to my friend Catherine who
All
sent
right.
me bright and early this morning as I'm not even a week into 40. How are you, Nick?
I'm good. I'm if I know there's no video to this podcast. If you saw me, I'm seated in the front row of a rented minivan. Our family's down in spring break in Orlando, Florida. And so I've taken all work calls from the front seat of my minivan because I parked it just close enough to the condo so that I can get Wi-Fi reception and air conditioning without having two kids running around. So that's where I'm at.
Wow, you're doing the most with the least. Today we are joined by Lew Bricker of Amundsen Davis. How are you, Lou?
Fantastic. It is exciting to be participating in the what I'll say Smartless Light podcast.
That's
Um,
a I take that's a badge of honor. I love Smartless.
yes. Um, Lou, how's it going up in Chicago today?
Um, Having just come back from Hawaii, it is a beautiful Chicago spring day. I can actually see 3 blocks across the street in the fog. It's great.
Wow, how lovely. Um, Lou, when you were in practice, because you're in management now, can you tell the people who are listening what was your primary focus?
Sure, I was a blood and guts trucking lawyer through and through. That was the bulk of what I did for a really long time.
How long?
Hey, less than you've been alive, but not
Wow.
substantially less than you've been alive.
Wow, wow, wow.
You started it.
I know, I really did. Kind of poking the bear there a little bit.
That's
Well,
fine.
Lou, the focus of this series, along with we've had Mark Solheim on and a couple other past chairs on of the new series that we're doing, is discussions with past chairs of the network and just kind of looking back and then also looking forward into the future of U.S. law on our network. And so maybe just kind of give us for those who maybe haven't met you or maybe have met you only a couple times, kind of give us, I know your firm has been involved in U.S. law for a long time, and maybe just kind of give us your starting or your firm getting involved in U.S. law and kind of working up today and knowing obviously that you served as chair as well.
Sure. So I am second generation U.S. law in my firm. My firm was one of the what I'll say the two real founding members, along with Pam's firm, Carr Allison. Back then, we were known as O'Hagan, Smith and Amundsen, and as stories are told, uh, Charles Carr and Carr Allison had just been formed, and O'Hagan, Smith and Amundsen, and Jim O'Hagan had just been formed, and Charles gave Jim a call and said, "Hey, what do you know? Dot dot dot. The infamous trip to Naples, the infamous meetings in Chicago, and you have a new network being formed. And this is from a bunch of people who came from other places, but primarily a competing network who shall not be named. And they tried to do it a little different. Um, I got invited along as a relatively inexperienced knuckleheaded partner to go to attend my very first conference. And the guy I worked for at the time, named Larry Smith, who was on the boat ride in Florida, said to me, "That's great. I'm running a panel. Now you are. Go have a good time." Being the brilliant orator that I am, I asked what a panel was. And so from there, we actually ended up out of that panel helping to form the U.S. law method for running conferences and running sessions. And the network grew and grew and grew from there. That's literally the path. Back in the day when there was a standalone trucking event as the only other event along with a major conference and the member meeting. That's literally how far back it goes.
What did that growth process look like, Lew, if you can remember? Was it sort of a slow build, or did y'all expand kind of, out rapidly, or what was that like?
I think it's weird to say, Pam, it's a bit of both. I think there was fast expansion and then slow, and fast expansion and then slow. And I think it's because when you found some like-minded folks, you had to be and you still have to be a pretty sophisticated business developer to understand the value of a group like US Law, because at first blush, you look at it and go, gosh, this is just a bunch of fun, cool stuff to do, and don't get the value proposition for the lawyer and the member firms, and you don't get the value proposition from the client side either. Right. And so when you found those opportunities, they always seem to come in bunches. And that happened from the time when I first joined in participating in the network to when I was chair and beyond. You've always seen growth in bunches.
As you all grew and sort of your generation, second generation of US Law became more involved, what do you think were the biggest challenges that y'all faced kind of taking over with this founders having this vision that was so lofty and then making it your own?
It's an interesting question, because I've been told I'm a big personality and I'm a big
no way. No.
Are we sure?
Well, I mean, you're on a call right now
partner
with a bunch of shrinking wallflowers. So I mean, we have no idea what you're talking about.
So, look, you guys, the joke is right. I stand on the shoulders before me, and you stand on the joke of the shoulders of the people before you. But as a younger partner who was sort of given this amazing opportunity by my firm, my mantra in life has been put your head down and grind and see what happens. And US Law rewards grinders better than about any other thing I've ever done in my life, other than perhaps chasing my wife. But that's a different story for today. That's US Law Podcast 2.0, late night hours.
We can get that scheduled. We can get that scheduled.
Yeah, that's scheduled. But in all seriousness, you're following a group of people, whether it's Jim O'Hagan or Charles Carr or Don Miles or Mark Solheim, who in their own way are huge personalities and huge presence and can magnetically fill a room like people I've never seen before. And I'm, I think a nice enough, funny, clever enough guy, but I'm not those people. And I think those of us who followed those folks, they were my inspiration, and I am forever grateful to Larry Smith and particularly Mark Solheim for advancing my presence in US Law. But it's figuring out your own path and what you want to do with it. I think the cool thing about the network is the flexibility in the way it's adapted to the desires and whims of the chair and the executive committee, managed and tempered by Roger Yaffe's sort of guidance and leadership, because he is the one consistent thing that's been around. And I'm sorry, Roger, for calling you a thing, but he is the one presence that's been here the whole time. The network and what we've done was, so you had this group of people that came together and had an idea. And the idea was new, but not new, right? Bring law firms together for networking. I think the new thing that made it a little different from anyone else I've seen is it was more people driven and relationship driven than any other thing I've seen. The beauty and the way it worked is the geographic respect and the practice respect has always been forefront and foremost in everyone's mind and respected. But it doesn't work if the people don't get along, and it doesn't work if you don't respect people. And so that was something, as I joined the board of directors and then became part of the executive committee and chair, I always found critically important. And look, I'm in a big growing firm, and as those things go on, I want to respect those opportunities and those places that my peers in the network have.
Yeah, and don't you think that, and I think you touched on that, a couple of different terms, the grinding and the big personalities, that the relationships are at the heart of that. That, if you're willing to put in the work and you've built a relationship with somebody, you're going to get recognized for it. And to your point, you're going to get, whether it's accolades, business development, whether, whatever it is. And then also on the big personality side, that it's okay to have those difficult discussions, those important discussions that may seem contentious, but you've built that relationship where you can say things freely.
There is a former chair who, when I was chair, I had to call and say, hey, I think you can do better. And to that person's credit, they took the criticism / suggestion to heart and offered and did more. And it has served me, those experiences certainly have served me well as I became managing partner of my firm. But everybody's different, and the network appreciates and respects that. Look, when I joined, I was the guy who was like, okay, I'll go talk to strangers. And it wasn't strangers. There's people inviting you into a circle, inviting you into a conversation. It wasn't, oh, who's a loser in the corner. It's just, hey, come, that's cool. And that is an opportunity that I participated in other events at other organizations, never seen it, never lived it, never been a part of it. And I take that back, except it was a bunch of US law people involved.
Right.
Do you think the sort of soft sell nature of US law is unique to US law, or is it more the way that we try to engage and handle discussions rather than, I don't know, speeches? Does that make sense?
Yeah. The answer to your question is it's both. It's a lot of things. So it starts with the relationships. Look, some of my best friends in the world, and I mean that, are your partner, Tom Oliver, and your partner, Bandy, Ketchum, and okay, and Mark Solheim too. But it's people who you can have a conversation with anything about. But the soft sell works because the environment is one in which you don't have people who are trying to crawl over each other to get to the client or to get to the person who controls the relationships. And you go to other events. I'll never forget one of my first events at an organization that shall not be named in the trucking world, where in the old days, they marked the badges by color, whether you were a client, a new attendee, a new client, and it was chum to sharks. And I got there late, and don't have my badge yet, and I'm talking to someone. And someone came up after I talked to that person and said to me, oh, hi, I'm Lew Bricker. Oh, what do you do? I'm a lawyer in Chicago. And the person literally turned around and walked away because I wasn't a client and they didn't know the difference. US law, you're going to go talk to anybody regardless. We don't identify who's a client. When it was talked about, when I was on the executive committee, that, hey, we're going to put a little sticker on somebody who's a new. We're like, no, we don't even do that because that's too much of an indicator. And then, so the soft sell becomes easy because instead of trying to target people, you are just trying to get to know people and you're trying to develop friendships. And the number of times I talk about, hey, what's going on with your family? Hey, where'd you go on vacation? Hey, what's going on in the world? Hey, how are the Cubs? As opposed to, hey, can we talk about a case or can we talk an issue? It's 10 to 1. And
Right.
that 10-to-1 is what makes for long-term opportunities. Oddly, the education style that has evolved in US law, because US law used to be a lot about lectures, and it used to be, the Ed Hockley 5 and 10 minute drill that used to dominate when Ed was active practicing law. Those things evolved into the idea that all we want to have are conversations with each other. And I, as a lawyer, learn more from my clients than my clients learn from me. And some of my favorite moments over the years have been when you watch the clients engage in a discussion or debate over an issue that we didn't even mean to start.
Right. And it's I think that is something that's unique, is allowing, and those are the best presentations, facilitations, or when the clients are driving that discussion. That's a point well taken.
But that can't happen unless it's a safe environment. And it can't happen if it's, and it only becomes a safe environment, perhaps is the better way of putting it, is if people don't have the trust in the relationships in the room. And you find out pretty quickly from new attendees, whether they're attorneys or their clients, they have to adjust to that new style. And as the second generation of leadership, what was on us was we started changing the formats. And whether it was Brad Wright who came up with the idea of the forum.
He will totally claim it.
I know. So why am I even arguing about it?
I don't know.
Brad Wright who claimed it. So for years, Brad and I wanted to start one event with cutouts from Planes, Trains, and Automobile, where he was John Candy and I was Steve Martin, and we were lying next to each other, and I got to say, come on, those aren't pillows.
Those aren't pillows. Yeah.
Anyway, but I think, sorry, Pam, but the flexibility of the network to say, let's try that is, and if it doesn't work out, we'll change something else, is a sign of an organization that continues to grow and evolve. And to where we are today, right, we're trying new and different things, and some work, some don't work, but the organizations that do the same things, the lawyers that do the same things, the clients that do the same things, I don't think in the long run end up being successful. So, second generation, it was, how do we build on what these people did beforehand? What are we willing to take risks on? And then we tried to, as the organization grew in size and scope, to make sure that it could sustain and support itself. Because, when you start having 60 odd firms and thousands of lawyers, we tease Roger about his emails, but there's a reason for that. He's trying to help manage so much. What are better processes and ways to do things?
And from that, you touched on the growth from, kind of that first generation to then the folks that were in your cohort, your generation, and now there's a kind of shift in focus to what's next, what's on the horizon. Is there a particular aspect of US law or a particular characteristic or that something unique about it that you want to see transition from, your group to the next group that was transitioned from the first group to your group?
This group doesn't really care who you are. This group cares about what you do. And I think that's hard to pull off in a large organization, because sometimes you have sacred cows, and Charles Carr shows up at an event. Charles Carr is a sacred cow, but Charles Carr is still magnificent at what he does, both as a leader, observer, and sharer. But the group rewards people who do. And that's what will sustain this group. That's what I want to see keep happening.
Well, Lou, we've talked a whole lot of business, but I have been itching to talk to you about your glowing skin that I was able to hear a little bit about earlier today. As a 40-year-old now, I have to be mindful of, all the things that are marching across my face. And yours looks lovely today. Why does your face look so great, Lou?
Well, it's because I was the first 25-year-old chair of U.S. Law, so I'm only 35 now. I just returned from a lovely week on the Big Island on the Kona side of Hawaii. It was some good friends of ours retired, and we had the pleasure of being invited to stay with them at their home on the Big Island. And it's hard to do 83.72 for 7 days straight.
That is so wonderful. Did
And
you eat any delicious food?
Lots of delicious fruit, lots of delicious food. I don't know if you know, the Big Island is actually known for its cattle ranches in part. And so,
Didn't know that.
yeah, so it's a lot of different things. There's the sort of the desert side and the green, lush side that gets tons of rain. And over the top, it's a huge space, there are cattle ranches. And so, honestly, had some Hawaiian beef. That was great. Had some Hawaiian beef. That was great. And so, it was a lovely, wonderful experience. I will say, here you go, Pam. Let me tie this back for you.
Yes.
Back in the day, a chair named Tom Oliver pushed the idea that we should visit member firms as to check in and see how things were going and make sure everyone was happy with the network and the network was being responsive. And frankly, the firm was doing what they're supposed to be doing. My first year, I got...
Who's responsible for doing that, Lou?
It was either Tom or Eric. I'm not sure which.
Okay.
I think that'd be about right. And that was probably Eric. I think I got a couple of years before I became chair. And I got assigned 3 states. 2 states you would only like to visit during 3 months of the year.
Okay.
And Hawaii.
Oh!
That was the trade-off.
So I certainly made my official firm visit to the Hawaii office of Goodsill in Honolulu, and it was great. I learned you wear aloha shirts and sport coats to work. It's the greatest thing ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So outside of the beautiful conference at the Chateau Elan that was your conference, what's been your favorite either destination that you've gone to with US Law or your favorite conference?
Can I give you my favorite moment?
That also is acceptable. I'll allow it.
All right, thank you. So my other year, when I became chair, my other conference when I became chair was at the frequently visited Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. And that was the first time we went to the US Olympic Center for a nighttime event. And they did this kind of cool literal passing of the torch, of the Olympic torch from chair to chair to chair. And Tom handed it to me, and I got to light the Olympic cauldron at the train.
Oh, cool.
That's really cool too.
That's really cool.
Given how close you guys are to be able to pass the torch physically and metaphorically.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. And I'll give you one more. So my favorite place ever to do a conference, oddly enough, was in Chicago.
Oh, Lou, come on.
Well,
I don't know about
Let
that.
him
I don't know
finish,
about that.
Pam.
All right,
This was supposed to be a safe space.
Again, I got another story, and you all can decide if this is appropriate for this Smart List Light podcast.
It
or
stays
Smart
in.
List.
We'll leave it in.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So you may not know this, but amongst Roger Yaffe's unique capabilities was he convinced the Chicago Cubs to have the very first concert ever at Wrigley Field.
Really?
There you go. Aha! I got something on you.
What?
So,
No
yeah.
way.
The Cubs had just been purchased by their current owners, and Roger approached them about doing an evening event, and he wanted to have a concert there, and they said no, yes, whatever. pulls it off that they do a concert on the first baseline with the stage set up literally over the coach's box, first baseline, just that portion of the infield. We did an event in the field, and then they'd set up the concert. It was, I think it was Dennis DeYoung, who still owned all the rights to the music from Styx. And he performed. And now this is where it gets touchy, and we're never going to tell my wife that we actually did this, right? So I said to some people, hey, my wife said, if Dennis DeYoung plays a certain song, you get to go to second base. And so Dennis DeYoung plays the song. My wife and I jump out of the stands, because that's where we were sitting, run to second base, kiss, and then come back.
Oh, thanks
That's
for
sweet.
bringing that right up, Lou. Appreciate
Yep.
you there.
Do that one up, kids. So, I mean, though that kind of experience, though, it is actually oddly emblematic of something U.S. law, because there are experiences and opportunities that I think we have all had, first, third, fourth, whatever generation you want to say, that I don't think you would have had, but for your opportunities, relationships that you had through U.S. law.
Wow. That's I did not take you for such a, hopeless romantic, Lou. This is this has been eye-opening. I love it. So as we kind of, first of all, you've been more than generous with your time, and we really appreciate it. But as we kind of wind to a close here, looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of U.S. law?
This is going to sound a little corny, but it's folks like you. You know, no, I'm serious now. So U.S. law, now I get emotional. U.S. law helped grow me up. And I don't know how else to put it. It put me away from your partners who, you know, when you're with your partners, you're often in, whether it's competition or judgment or everything in between, that makes things sometimes awkward, more complicated than they need to be, blah, 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 blah. Years ago, I sat in Las Vegas with a client, Jim Mullen, and I said something that caused me immense grief at home, but I firmly believe in. My partners are the people I share legal obligations with and occasionally profits back at home. But my true partners, my true business partners, are the folks in this room. And those are the people who I do more with and do more with me, and we do more for each other than you could ever do with your own home partner. And the neat thing to watch is you guys are doing that now. So when Tom and Brad and Phil Stanfield and Mark Barrow and Mike Sharp and Kevin Fritz, and I'm not leaving anybody out intentionally, would do something, right? Or, hey, I'm going to go visit that client. Do you want to come with? And then it's a, hey, by the way, we talked about this client with you. That opportunity presents itself. You guys are doing the exact same thing. And that to me is the foundation and the future of the network that I think is great, because you have your own partners, right? It's awesome. Pam's going to do great at Carl Allison. She's doing great things. Mike's doing great things with Dice. Nick's doing great things with Larson King. All those things are within your firm, but those opportunities and things you take advantage of with each other will grow you, your firms, and frankly, the network further and bring things better along.
Very well said. Very well said. Well,
Yeah.
Lou, we've really appreciated your time, your kind words today, and again, a big thank you to you for your role in the organization, everything you've done, the mentorship that you've shown to folks that are in our generation, including those that just turned 40, like Pam, and just your stewardship with the organization. And I really do appreciate the words of, that it's good to have tough conversations. They're important to have, but as long as the relationships are at the center, it drives everything forward. But again, I think you're a testament to what makes U.S. law work. And thank you for everything that you've done, not only for me, but for the organization.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou, and thanks everyone for listening to another episode of US Law Live, US Law's official podcast. We will catch you on the flip side.